Welcome to OreoOlive.com. As you know, Oreo olives don't mix, but the abstract thought of putting those two words together has enlightened me to create a channel to discuss various topics. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the HB1410, which is a bill that has been introduced in the state of Arkansas as an act to revise the child labor laws to create Youth Hiring Act of 2023 and for other purposes, whatever those may be. So if you want to follow along with me in these points that I'm wanting to make with this specific bill in the state of Arkansas, if you have not known, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, along with the sponsors and representatives for the bill, Representative Burks, Underwood, Long, and Senator C. Penzo, J. Bryan, and M. McKee. You can actually see the bill for yourself if you want to pull it up on the site. You can visit the Arkansas legislative.state.ar.us site, or you can type in HB1410. You can actually follow along with me if you want. What we're basically going to be looking at in this particular bill is basically overall, this bill is going to dispense with the state's requirement that children under 16 years of age have to obtain permission from the Division of Labor in order to be employed. So basically, the kids do not need their parents' permission in order to work. Now, as we jump into this, there's going to be a couple of different statistics that I want to provide to you as well, so that you can actually see it, make the correlations yourself as well. So it's just definitely just going to be a discussion amongst that. So before we do anything, let's go ahead and jump into the bill. So by looking at the bill itself, you can actually see it for yourself. It's the PDF document online. Everything that I'm telling you here is public information. It's not anything hidden or any hidden documentation or anything of that matter. But you can just look at the bill. Now, as you can read there, you can actually see what we have going on here. But it's supposed to streamline the hiring process for children under 16 years of age. And we're going to get into reasonings behind that here shortly. But you can see where the parts that are actually marked out is what is being pulled away from these particular types of documents here. So you can see all of that right here, and you can see where it's where no person, firm, or corporation shall employ and permit any child under 16. That means that they're going to be able to do that right now. So I'm going to show you definitely some information within that. Now, aside from all that, you see the bill yourself, okay? You see what's going on. You basically know the reasoning behind this, as I stated. And you see what the purpose is of the bill right then and there. There's nothing hidden in that regard on that part. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to definitely look at some of the statistical information on the number of kids. So what I want to look at is the amount of kids that are working while in high school, the amount of kids that are in a single or two-parent household or no-parent household at all. And I want to look at some of the illegal practices that have happened with food sanitation services and companies across the U.S. that have paid fines and civil penalties for making children as young as 13 work in dangerous conditions. And so that's what we're going to look at here. So we'll get into the stats first and then that second, okay? So one of the first things that I want to definitely point out here is you can definitely look at some of the charting information, but this right here is basically by the Bureau of Labor Statistics here, and this is basically employed persons 16 to 24 years of age by industry, class of worker, race, and Hispanic Latino ethnicity between July 2021 and July 2021 through 2022. Basically, the most amount of total young children that have been working in July of 2021 to 2022 was majority in the looks to be, according to this, in non-agricultural industries, and that range from private wage and salary workers, and you can see that across the board here for these numbers for this line, particularly right here. So this is going to be for private wage and salary workers. You're also going to have it as well in construction. Manufacturing is a big one. Manufacturing is definitely on this line here. But those are just some of the numbers there. And you have actually more white employed people between 16 and 24 on this list in both years than you do aside from other races, Black, African American, Asian, Hispanic, or Latino ethnicity. Now, you already know in the U.S., it's going to be a comparison, as always, between different races to break down statistics and stuff because of the majority of what's in the country. So this is basically just showing you the overarching numbers of the totals of different groups. Now, one other thing that you want to take a look at is, now that you know the number of young adults that are employed, depending on the different types of jobs that there are in the different types of industry and the class of workers, you have to ask yourself, how many of these children actually live in two-parent households? Well, looking at that, the percentage of children living with two parents has dropped since 1968. Back in 68, you had about 85% of children that lived 85% of children under the age of 18 had lived in a two-parent household, whether they were married or not. Now, by 2020, that dropped to about 70%. Why I'm bringing this up is, the reason why I'm bringing this up on whether or not, or the living arrangements of the children, whether in a single parent, two-parent, or no parent household, meaning living with their grandparents or some other family member, I'm bringing this up to see if there's a correlation between, if they have a two-parent household, are the parents making enough money, so therefore the child is not wanting to go out to work, and so companies won't take advantage of that? Or is there more children working in a single-parent household or no-parent household in order to help provide for the household itself? That's what I'm trying to look at here. That's why I'm trying to gather all the information and want you all to actually see that. Now, from this here, the child living with the mother only is the second most common U.S. living arrangement in the U.S., and that number has doubled since 1968. Let me just share a particular graph with you here because I want you to see it. When you look at the blue is telling us that 85.4% of kids are in a household where there's two or more parents, whether they are married or not, from 1968 to 2020, as you can see on the graph there. And that number has slowly been on the decline from 68 to 2020. Now, only 10.7% of kids have only a mother only in the house, which means the father could be off, fighting a war in a different country or deployed overseas or something like that, or maybe in prison. Now, only about 1.1% live with father only, which we know the circumstances around that, and about 2.8 has no parent at all, meaning they're living with their grandparents. So majority of the kids in the U.S. are living with both parents in the house, married or not. So if the majority of the kids have both parents in the house, and if the parents are making a reasonable amount of money, why is it necessary for the child to actually go out and get a job at an early age under this new bill that we have here? So what you would think is when you have both parents in the household and they're doing what they're supposed to do and being the adults like they're supposed to, then hopefully the child will not be susceptible to this particular new House bill that has been passed here. Now, what you have to ask yourself is when you think about these particular laws and things that's going on with the the requirements are no longer being there, you have to ask yourself, well, why? When you look across just not only within Arkansas but within the U.S. alone, you start to have these different types of fines and things that start to take place. And so the different fines that we have here is you have more than, according to, and this is on the Department of Labor's website, but more than 100 children illegally employed in hazardous jobs, and federal investigation finds a food sanitation contractor pays $1.5 million in penalties. And this is with Packer Sanitation Services Incorporated. Now, even though this is not a lot of children, but just any child at all should not be in these conditions at all. So if you have these type of violations, then why do you have a bill that is saying that the child doesn't need the Department of Labor's permission or the parents' permission in order to work, which that's definitely not good at all. But it definitely lists companies. It lists companies and U.S. plants from Nebraska, Minnesota as well. And you can look at even for this year, February of 2023, February 16, 2023, the PSSI paid about $1.5 million in civil money penalties for these violations. And these companies, even though it's a little bit cut off here on the screen, sorry that you all cannot see if we can get that out there. There we go. All right, so you can look at this right here. You can look at the numbers yourself, and you can actually see the companies that the division investigations have taken place on. You have Georgia's Incorporation, which is in Batesville, Arkansas, and these are other states. These are other companies in other states as well, so you can see that. But 4 minors were found to be working in these hazardous conditions at Georgia's Incorporation in Batesville, Arkansas, and about $60,000 was assessed from that. Tyson Foods, which is another big Arkansas-based company. Most of you are familiar with Tyson Foods. That was this in Green Forest, Arkansas, but they also have Tyson Foods in Batesville, Arkansas, too, if they haven't closed down there. Now, there was news this morning that there was in Van Buren, Arkansas, Tyson Foods, I believe, was going to be closing shop in May of this year, 2023. You can definitely look up the news on that. But about 6 minors were found there to be working in hazardous conditions. And then those are the only 2 here in the state of Arkansas. But you can look at JBS Foods, Maple Leaf Farms, Cargill Incorporation, Turkey Valley Farms, Buckhead Meat of Minnesota, Gibbon Packing Company, the Greater Omaha Packing Company, Cargill. You can just see this information online, y'all. It's not. This isn't hidden or anything, and these were hazardous occupations that have them working overnight shifts at 13 meat packing facilities across 8 states. 8 states, Arkansas, Colorado, Indiana, Kansas. Let's see here, Dodge City, Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, Tennessee, and Texas. You can definitely look at this yourself, but if you have these kind of conditions, what you would think is there would be a stricter requirement on not allowing children under a specific age. Now, if somebody is 18 plus years of age, they don't want to go, to college, or they don't want to do anything else but just go to a factory and work, that's totally fine. They're an adult, they can make that decision. But focusing and targeting children with this is just not right. We all know that. The question is, for the people who actually were on the bill, will their children actually, would they allow their children to do this or work in these type of conditions? And the answer is most definitely no. What parent would? And I'm speaking to this from a parent perspective, you all. If you are a parent, this is definitely something that you need to be paying attention to. Now, when you look at the amount of teens that are actually working in the U.S., 16 to 19, who are enrolled in high school and also have a job, you can see from 1985 over to 2021, you can see that the most amount of teenagers, there were more teenagers that were working and in high school in between 1997 and 1998. 1998 being more than 30% had jobs while working, and these jobs could have been, at fast food restaurants on the weekends or something like that. That's just different. 16-year-old kid working just to have enough money to pay for a phone bill. That's different. But but not getting the kids permission if they are young, is basically targeting children, and that's definitely not right. But from what you can see from that, people, what is your opinion on that? Definitely post it in the comments below. I just want to definitely just show you the numbers, but think about it from this perspective. If the kids had two parents in the home that had their stuff together, that were giving the kids a comfortable life, the kids wouldn't be susceptible to these type of laws that are in place. What I don't want to happen is children to be taken advantage of under the age of 16. They shouldn't be worried about working. They should be worried about focus on getting out of school and then deciding whether they want a career or if they want to work in a factory. That's totally their choice. But this right here, there's definitely more adults who are looking for jobs, who are homeless, that could work these particular jobs. There's more of them than there are the kids that could be taken advantage of with this. So like, listen, subscribe, OreoOlive.com. We're going to definitely, if anything more happens with this particular topic, we're going to definitely bring it back soon.